So my story goes something like this. I loved hard. I cried even harder. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Listen. Such is life, you know? Such is life. We move. Hello, my girlie. Welcome to Talks with Say, the only late night, thought provoking, giggle inducing lifestyle and girl talk podcast for my ladies whose days melt into their nights. I'm Zafra, your tulip loving, heels obsessed host, who just like you is trying to figure it all out while finding moments of balance, discipline, and self above else. Tonight, we're kicking off season 1 with my Say story. So my story goes something like this. I loved hard. I cried even harder. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Listen. Such is life, you know? Such is life. We move. I've always been a person that loves very deeply and very intensely. Now, I'm not someone that loves many things, many people, but those that I do love, as I said, I love very deeply and very intensely. And the thing about loving people, the way that we love people is, it's as if there is this invisible mark on you, right? Like, okay, this is someone that is very loving. And if you are so loving as I am, where you are willing to sacrifice bits of you for the people that you love, for the relationships that you cherish and value so much, a lot can happen, a lot can go right, but a lot can also go wrong. You see, to love is something that we get told should happen without expectations, right? And I say there's nothing wrong with having expectations. I just want to preface this by saying, when I say loving someone or something, well, let's say loving someone, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about familial relationships. I'm talking about romantic relationships, platonic relationships, the relationship you have with yourself. You know, all of that is under the umbrella of love. Oftentimes we are told and taught about romantic love, but we're not taught about all the other forms of love that there is. So in this case, when I say love, I'm talking about any type of love that you have felt towards any type of person. So that could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a friend, whoever. Loving very deeply and intense. The good side of that is that you get to give all this love. It feels good to love others. I know it feels good. I know you are agreeing with me that it feels good to actually love other people, right? And especially when you love them very intensely, it's this type of love where sometimes you look at that person, you think about that person, and you're just like, I'm so glad you exist. I don't know how or why God put you into my life, but I'm so grateful that He did. That's the type of deep, intense love I'm talking about. The good side of that is, again, you're able to give that, right? And you have this urge to actually give all this love that you have inside of you, and you want to do all these things for someone, depending on what your love language is, depending on what their love language is. But then the other side of that is that intense and deep love. It could be very, very dangerous in many ways. One of the dangers in being a person that loves so deeply and intensely that you are willing and okay with self-sacrificing yourself for that person or those people is that that love can develop into resentment. It can develop into depressive heartbreak. And the way that that happens is when the relationship is one-sided, when there is a lack of communication, and more than just a lack of communication, when there is a lack of willingness from at least one person in the relationship. Let me give you an example. So you're in a relationship, romantic relationship, you're seeing this guy, you're like, listen, this is mine, like this is my person. I adore this person, I love this person, and I love doing these things for this person, and I'm doing them all the time, and I'm doing them consistently, and I do them because I love doing them, because I know it makes them feel good, I know it puts a smile on their face, I know it's helping our relationship. But then you start to feel some type of way as time goes by, because you start to realize, hey, why am I the one always doing this for my person, but they're not doing it for me? That's where the depressive heartbreak comes. And that's where communication comes, right? You communicate but more than communication, if there's no willingness from that person, then you can communicate all you want. You'll be talking to a wall, you'll be communicating with a wall, and that's at that point, that's when life shows you reality. And that's, you cannot change those who have no intention of changing, especially if your current relationship dynamic is benefiting them, even if that benefit for them is at your expense. You're probably asking, but they were so good, the relationship was great in the beginning, the friendship was the thing is, everything is always great in the beginning. Like in every relationship you have, there's always a honeymoon phase. Every relationship, be it romantic, platonic, etc. But if you are starting to feel some type of way and it's becoming depressive, it's really messing with your emotions, and you've tried communicating and nothing is changing, that's when you have to really ask yourself, why? Like, why am I here? Why am I a part of this relationship? What are my fears in letting go of this relationship, or in looking at the realities of this relationship? Because sometimes the answer isn't ending it, sometimes the answer isn't leaving, but you also have to really ask yourself, why? And when you start asking yourself why, a very cruel realization happens. It is a very cruel and necessary realization. And the realization is, you know what? Oh well, such is life. Such is life. Such is life means part of living life as a woman in today's world is relationships can be fleeting, but they can also be wonderful. And you have to remember that regardless of what type of relationship you have and the people you love, part of life is sometimes we get our heart broken, and sometimes we get our heart broken from people we never thought would break our hearts. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be so broken that you don't want to get up in the morning. I'm laughing because I've had so many of those moments. I know every single one of you listening has had that moment, and that's okay. You're gonna have more of those moments if you think for a second that at some point in your life as a woman, you will just magically be happy all the time. I don't know what else to tell you. Well, let me tell you here, because over here at Talks with Say, we keep it real. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Everything in this world, everything in this earth, everything in this life is all about cycles. So there's no way for you to always be happy, and that's okay. That's okay. Now back to the cruel realization. While the realization that such is life is cruel, it's very necessary, and it allows you to start seeing life for what it is. It allows you to learn to be more appreciative of life, especially because all of us were here once. We experienced life once. This is your first and last time on this earth. So experience both the good and the bad. Experience love in whatever form you decide to experience it. Appreciate it. With all of that being said, it is so important to have a central focal point in who you are and in your life. The takeaway from all of this should be, how can you actually say? How can you actually self above else? You can say by telling yourself this one mantra, and that is a mantra that I have been living by since I was 18 years old, and that is, such is life, we move. That is how you say, that is how you self above else. You remind yourself, I am going to find ways to choose myself. And there are multiple ways you can choose yourself. So choosing yourself can mean ending the relationship, ending the friendship, putting a little bit more distance between you and your parents, or you and your siblings, or you and your friends, whatever, you and your coworkers. Telling that person, listen, this is the reality of things from my perspective. This is how it's making me feel. This is what you can do to help it. And this is what I'm willing to do to help it. That is what Say is all about. That is what self above else is all about, is finding ways to choose yourself. And so that's why I wanted to share my Say story with you in this format. I never had a woman tell me, hey, you know what? You're going to experience love, different forms of love, many times, and you're going to experience them at different stages in life, and you're going to experience them in the best way possible. You're going to really enjoy it, but you're also going to get your heart broken, and it's going to happen in cycles. Because as I said, life is in cycles, love is in cycles, happiness is in cycles. And so what is your self above else story? What is that thing, that story, that reminder, that moment, that experience where you're like, you know what? Such is life, we move. And that's it for tonight. Thank you, my girlie, for joining me. Until next time, self above else.